So hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. It's qualifier race number 4 in June. It's going to be an absolute cracker. My name is Matt Payne. I'm down here in the Full Speed Event studio and we're back in the UK. When I say we, it's myself and Emma Martin. Emma, you're back in the UK as well. We're back into this studio, underground, subterranean, quite literally, as people can see from your social media posts. I'm sure you're looking forward to this. It's always interesting when we have our 4th qualifier of the month.
It is always interesting, and you are correct. And if anybody wants to see the underground studio, they can head over to biking_Emma on Instagram. But you are correct. Qualifier 4 is always really interesting because of the people who choose not to ride.
Okay.
Because 4 qualifiers this month, obviously 2 verified rides to qualify for the final. So some riders not choosing not to ride. Well, the women today, 35 kilometres of racing, 542 metres of climbing, and they're on the new Alula Heritage Climb route. We have been here before and we have seen some fantastic racing. In fact, the last time we were here was qualifier 2 in May. Now, take a look at this as a bit of a bump at the start. Then at 13.3 kilometres, the Heritage Climb, 5.9 kilometres in length, average gradient 5.7%. But you can see how kicker type of a climb that is, particularly in the early stages. We then have a very technical descent and a run in to the Alpha Hills that roll into the finish. And often that's where we see the gaps.
It is. And you say technical descent. That is in terms of the gradient changes and the type of pace that's going to be put in by the riders. When you add that in combination, then you've got to really have your wits about you. Now, as usual, we have our 4 different race categories. Category 1 in yellow, Category 2 in green, Category 3 in blue, and our first starters of the day are Category 4 in red. 5 minutes separated each of those groups as they go on to the race route here in Alula onto this new Heritage course. We will take you through the course, through the riders, and of course we're looking forward to seeing just what unfolds out on course, with a few changes and a few people may be missing in action because they've already qualified. A number of riders may well be using this as a training session, so maybe we're going to see some people going for those sprints or the climbs as a unique feature rather than for the overall race. We will see. Now, in Category 4, the Petite Four squad are back. Nikki Lloyd and Simone Francis are leading them out. Interesting to see that we've got Jacqueline Kirchner with us as well from the Phoenix squad. Emma, it's a good race field here. 11 nations represented, but a good field with some really interesting names in there.
Yeah, 29 riders on the start sheets today. Barco, Bele, Lenore. Georgina Jones is here, took a second last week. Katie Bago, who's been riding really well, and actually took 5th place here on Qualifier 2 in May. Vasquez is here. She took a 4th last week. Simkin took the win last week. Alvarez, Sarasuk, Kennedy, Tangley and Ferron. Now, in Qualifier 2 in May, it was Jones, Elos, Bremner, Francis and Bago who took the top 5 in Category 4. Who's going to take the top 5 today? Well, there's just over 5 seconds to find out.
So here we go. It is Qualifier 4. Our riders away, hitting the roads of Alula. This fantastic jewel in the crown that mixes modern with ancient. It's got a fantastic amount of scenery, including one of Emma's all-time favourite places to go on her bucket list, because it has the wonderful Elephant Rock. Now, when you see this on screen, if we're going to go past this on this route, which if I remember right, we do, you do need to think, oh, that can't be real, but go have a look. But stick into whatever search engine you use, or even better, go to Alula and see it. It looks just like this in real life, and it's on your bucket list.
It is indeed. And if anybody is out there and standing in front of the Elephant Rock taking a photo, just send me it at Biking Emma, because I would love to take a look and see if it looks identical in real life. It is on my bucket list. Northern Lights.
Okay.
Elephant Rock.
Okay, so that's 2 of the things that we probably better not do your bucket list, because we won't cover any racing, because I would imagine it's fairly long.
No, that's pretty much it, actually.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, that might be you might have to think of a few more. You've hopefully got a few more years about.
I quite fancy doing Victoria Falls.
Okay. What, in a barrel?
No, just go and have a look. I've taken a look at Niagara Falls, and Victoria Falls, I think, has to be better.
Oh, okay. You don't sound like you're very impressed, but maybe we should leave it there.
Yeah. But I did go down in a tunnel underneath Niagara Falls, and that bit was quite impressive. Well, whilst we're talking about Niagara Falls, there's no riders falling off here today because Jenny Tan is pushing on at the start of this race.
It's this initial rise and fall that we see on the start of the course. Essentially, this course is basically relatively flat until you hit the heritage climb, and this initial kicker can really test the riders. So this goes up, we go down, and then we do have a couple of little bumps on the way into the which is the Valley of the Tomb sprint. However, this can test riders. It looks like one rider just being distanced slightly off the back of the main pack as we rise up here. Now, don't be fooled, because the gradient, it might say 2.5%, it went to 4%. It is tough stuff when you are racing and riding. Those percentage gradients, you don't need a factor of 10 on it. It is real. It really is noticeable. And I think that's one of the things that you really feel when you ride this. And going to be looking forward to seeing how this translates into the racing a little bit further on. Lots of riders here not riding this for the first time. It is a route that we've used a few times now, as Emma has said. Back here, Qualifier 2 in May. Do you remember back, Emma? In May on Qualifier number 2. Category 4. Was there anybody in particular who you thought would be right up there?
Back in... Well, it was a good race. I'm always surprised with the Alula Heritage Climb course, this new course, about how quickly this is raced. The winning time back in May was 1:09 for Category 4, 58 minutes for Category 1. So you can see the difference in the categories. Jones took this, Elos, Bremner, Francis and Bago. I think that was probably one of the first times, definitely Katie Bago coming to the fore, one of the newer riders in Category 4, really progressing, really getting into the mix. Tomkinson, one of our new riders here today, Katie Bago, take a look at that, right up in contention already, paying attention to the course. Narvaez, Ferron, Georgina Jones, I think will go well today. Rachel Kennedy is another one of our new riders, so great to see more new riders coming in. Melissa Simkin, who took the win last week, I have a feeling that she joined us the week after in Q3 in May was her first race with us, so she won't have ridden the course.
Very interesting. Let's see how Simkin gets on today in Category 4. They're on the right-hand side of your screen in red. Have it up onto the main screen. We're in with Musa Al-Mansouri here in Category 3. The Grind My Gears squad. Hadlock, Montoya, Kokkonen and Piccolo. A superstar squad. That is a real all-star squad.
Yeah.
Then we've got Golden Light with a Golden Light, representing Team Golden Light, and we're going to see how she gets on today. Another of our fantastic riders who is always with us. They are but a small sousal of the entirety of the course. I'm missing France already. So we are going to see who is going to be up there. Now, we'll run through the actual riders in Category 3 in a second. We're going to get these riders away. 12 nations represented on the start line in Category 3. We are on a few seconds to go. It's time to hit the roads of Alula with Category 3. Time to get racing.
Well, away go Category 3. They are up, they are out of the start pen. They will very shortly be turning on to the course. There they go, round they go. And Musa Al-Mansouri right in the middle of the pack. De Gracia is there, Hyde, Alzat, De Francis, Beltran, Marin, Knowles. Well, Knowles, if you remember back last time we saw her in her pain cave. The artist, that is Alexandra Knowles. So great to see the different worlds surrounding in person, as well as the world surrounding our riders here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Cup.
Yeah, great to see it. And thank you very much to Alexandra for getting in touch. I know she's in touch with Emma. A lot of the riders get in touch with Emma at biking_Emma. You can get hold of me. It's at MattFixerPain on Instagram. And in fact, there we go. More artwork in the background. Maybe this is the... this is going to be the new gallery, the new way to show off your wares. Definitely. Now, I was talking with Emma that perhaps if we do another studio, we are lucky enough to have a few studios ready. Maybe we need to get some artwork on the walls, some cycling artwork on the walls of the studio at Full Speed events. So I'm all for putting artwork of cyclists up there. I'm not sure what Emma would have on the walls. Probably a picture of Jan Ulrich.
Oh, well, I just used to love the way he used to take the inside of the bend on the climbs rather than go the long way around.
It's a strange thing that keeps you happy. Now, the travels of Rebecca Johnson continue. If you are here, Around the World in 80 Days with Rebecca Johnson is in progress, or I think it's around Scandinavia at the moment with Rebecca. She's out on the bike, and this time surrounded, those are incredibly tall firs by the look of that. I think those are a tall fir in the background, one of the evergreen trees that are almost ever present across the top. And look at that, there we go. We can just see Rebecca in action, actually out and racing, avatar and person both on screen.
Well, I just love the fact that Rebecca Johnson and Ross Fawcett both prove that wherever you are in the world, you can take your bike and your trainer with you and you can jump on the Sunday Race Club. Being away from your pain cave is not a reason not to be. A portable pain cave is what they have.
It is, and I have to say, as somebody who's an utter tech geek, congratulations to Rebecca and to Ross, because their ability to send us pictures of them and race wherever they are in the world is absolutely brilliant, because there's a lot of people who can't manage that in their own pain cave, in their own house, in what should be a relatively straightforward setup. They're doing the mobile around the globe. So fantastic stuff.
There's a song there.
There is indeed, all around the world we go, because we're back into the UK with Catherine Tomkinson, who just put in a bit of a kick down through that sprint there. 21-second time for her through the sprint, and at the moment about 6 seconds quicker than Tan going through with a block of riders there in that main group behind. Will Tomkinson pay for that sprint effort later? Well, we have to see. At the moment, though, she's leading that sprint competition. Now, Emma, do you want to just quickly run through the sprint competition, how that works?
Yes, indeed. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sprints today in this women's 35-kilometre course, all of them at 300 metres. Now, there are no prizes for the sprint competition except the green skin suit, and that is what these women are racing for. So each time there is a sprint in each of the categories, the fastest rider through the sprint takes 5 points, and the points are added together, the highest point scorer wearing the green skin suit.
So all of our categories are racing for their own sprint skin suit, all racing for their top positions in their categories. In category 2, we have 12 nations represented, and representing Team Collide, we have riders from the Philippines and Lithuania, with German Predo and Ursula Kasani, our two Team Collide captains out there. They are going to be in action along with a big field of riders. And Emma, Category 2, a real mix.
It is a real mix that's so competitive. Last week on Australian Outer Loop course, 1.7 seconds separated the top 5 riders in Category 2. So it is a packed field, and joining that packed field today is Philippa Hill. She took the win last week in Category 3, and she's a strong Cat 3 rider. She's progressed to Cat 2. Let's see what she can do. Well, away go Category 2 on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. This is Qualifier for in June 2024. And Hill leads them out. It's her first time in Cat 2, and she took that first corner at the front of the pack. Aramillo, Prado, all in there as well. Montgomery, Svardstrom in the mix with Dana Wagner. Now, Dana Wagner took the win last week. She was there. Kasani was in 2. Giannatti was in 3. Lundin in 4. And Vittori in 5. Now, interestingly, last week Prado wasn't in the top 5, but she did take the win last time we were on this course. Well, Dana Wagner there on the screen. She was indeed the winner last week in this category. Strong rider pushing on in the mix, but strong riders in that group, Matt.
And for those people who maybe haven't watched last week's racing, first of all, Go back and watch it. Why haven't you? It was an amazing race. Absolutely. It was non-stop. The production team and ourselves after the race just went, oh my goodness, how crazy was that race? Please do go back and watch it. For those people that didn't see Ursula Kasani and the gang in action, just a quick reminder, Emma, the route we were on last week was
the Australian Outer Loop.
And it is a very similar style of course to
this one.
Because it has a central climb.
It does.
A big central climb. And then it has a little bit of a bumpy run into the finish at the very end, but not very much. This is definitely slightly... It's got more gradient change and they're steeper at the end.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm just trying to count the number of rollers on this finish. I think it's 7.
I think it's 6, but I'm not going to argue with you on that because your eyesight is probably better than mine.
Well, talking about eyesight, I'm currently watching Julia Montgomery. She's in the middle of that Category 2 pack. On the right-hand side of your screen, that's the Category 3 pack. And they're about to go through that first sprint of the day, the Valley of the Tomb sprint, coming at 4.5 kilometres into this race. And take a look at this, Matt. You said we were going to see riders sprint, and we indeed are today, because Kekkonen and De Gracia are off the front. And take a look at the kick coming out of Noveline Kekkonen at the moment. She's just backed off, but Gina De Gracia... Kekkonen kicks again. I think Kekkonen is going to pick up that green skin suit in Category 3.
I think she is a 24.405. You can see the two different categories there mixed together in both Category 3 and Category 4. De Grazia immediately behind Kekkonen, neither at the moment matching the time of Catherine Tomkinson, Category 4 rider. Now, Gina De Grazia. Let's talk about Gina De Grazia for a moment because she is a rider who goes for these sprints week in, week out.
Yes,
she's been bested by Noveline Kekkonen. Do you think that's going to be a surprise?
Well, I don't know. You know, Kekkonen is a really strong rider, and normally we don't see Kekkonen go for the sprints. She's usually in the mix. But I have to say, as you mentioned at the top of the show, 4 qualifiers this month, which allows riders to do something different and to practice something different and try something different in the races, because they're not just ensuring to try and get those 2 qualification places. They're also able to try something different and mix up their racing style, so that perhaps when it comes to the final next week, there could be something different on the cards.
Yep, great to see, and it does mix it up for certain in all of our categories. Category 4 in the red that you can see at the bottom right-hand side of your screen. Category 3, bottom left-hand side of your screen. Category 2, top right-hand side of your screen. The riders en route spread between 2.5 kilometres and 8.5 kilometres. But it's time for the cream of the crop. Our fastest riders of the day, or should be, to hit the roads. Category 1, the Effetto Skier squad have been very strong with Ruhr, Giovanni and Whitelaw, but they are outnumbered today by both the peak performers with Van Hove, Korczynski, Bjarhed and Sidlik, and the sweat sensations with Fuhr, Velt, Bruni and Koistinen. I make it roughly, that's half our race field, which has 12 nations represented in the those of you who were paying attention will notice 12 nations in both categories 1 and 2, and as well as category 3. So that's 3 with 12 nations and 11 in category 4. Now, we're going to go in depth into the rest of the field and, in fact, those riders in a moment. It's time to get our riders underway. They're going to ramp up the power. They're going to get ready to kick out from the start here. This is Category 1, the top of the tree. This is where you end up if you make it all the way to the summit of the Sunday Race Club. This is time to see who is going to take away our victory in what is the fastest of our race fields, Catherine Fuhr. One of those riders to beat, and back indeed. Now, absent last week in Qualifier 3, again, that's the advantages of having 4 qualifiers in the month. Depends on the calendar, obviously, because we are the Sunday Race Club, so oddly enough, it's dependent on how many Sundays there are in a month as to how many qualifiers we get. The last Sunday in the month is our finals, and Catherine Fuhr has been the rider to beat, but whilst she was absent last week, it didn't detract from the racing in a lot of ways, because it was absolutely manic.
It was indeed phenomenal racing in Category 1 last week. And let me just say, we've had 3 qualifiers so far, 10 different riders in Category 1. in the top 5. Welcome back, Catherine Fua. Great to see you. Hope you've had a great break last Sunday. I know Mina Coinston and Catherine Fua spent some time together, teammates from the Sweat Sensations, training together in real life and taking a bit of time, which is fabulous to see. So last week it was Kulczynski from Holdcroft, from Tidholm, from Van Hove, from Sidlick on the Australia Outer Loop course, the win coming in 59.18 seconds. So 59 minutes, 18 seconds.
Sub 1 hour.
Sub 1 hour on the Outer Loop course. And just taking a little look here. So can I just put a little mention out as well? Last week, Mary Kate McCarthy, first race on the Sunday Race Club, took 6th place.
Oh,
fantastic
good
riding.
ride.
Engstrom here we can see on the bottom of the screen, tightly in the mix, always a strong performer as well. Now, last time we were on this new heritage course in Alula, it was Fua, Kulczynski, Bruni, Soderstrom and Holdcroft. Well, is it going to be the same today? Is it going to be a different mix? We've got Fua, Tidholm, Kulczynski, Larson, Bjarhead, Engstrom, all in the mix here. Steph Sidlick is here as well as Merle Bruni, Mina Coinston, and it's going to be a tight race, even though that Category 1 race field is not as big this week as I can guarantee it's going to be next week.
Because next week is our finals. Emma, you said the riders need 2 qualifying rides to make it into the final. Just explain a qualifying ride for me.
So completing the race and having a verified finish is part and parcel of the qualification process, and you need 2 finishes with verified rides, meaning you are on the results spreadsheet to qualify for the final. And then what we see is teams coming together. Now, some of our teams are I'm going to call ever-present teams with the same component mix, as in the same riders on. Other teams come together in a more flexible nature for the final, dependent upon who has qualified and who hasn't. And obviously we have new riders coming in, as we've already talked about so far today, coming into the mix and wanting to join a team for the final. So some flexibility in some of the teams, some permanency in some of the teams as well. And Novelin Kekkonen, she has been here and hereabouts on the Sunday Race Club for a long time now, part and parcel of the team mix, part and parcel at the front of that Category 3 race with Gina De Gracia at the moment.
So Kekkonen in here. We've just gone through the sprint, I think, and that's why we've just seen De Gracia and Kekkonen on the move, and Novelin Kekkonen going for the sprints. And it could well be that she's looking to just improve that kick, to refresh it, to give it a little bit more vitalisation. We will see if that's going to be the case. She makes her way in and through all these race categories and racing categories 4, 3, 2 and 1. They are out on course. Category 3 at the moment, they're just approaching the 9-kilometre marker. Category 2, they're at 2.6 kilometres, so they're about 2k from the first of our sprint segments. That's the Valley of the Tombs sprint. This group are looking very compact and bijou. This is going to be
compact and bijou.
Yeah,
like
because it is, and I think sometimes when you get down to a smaller selection of riders, when they are as good qualities, it really messes with people's heads. This is what I really love about this. When you've got a big race field, there's a lot more randomness to it. All these riders, they know each other. You know, Dorothy Gonzalez-Rueda here, she knows what Lisa Hermanson's strengths are. She knows what Merle Bruni's strengths are, what Catherine Fur's strengths are. They know hers. And when you've got less riders to concentrate, I think that really makes that focus more intense. Well, and some riders struggle with that.
I'm going to call it twitchy. I think it's more twitchy.
You think it makes it more twitchy?
Because you've got less people to respond to the attacks. You've got less people to respond to the other moves. You can sit in the wheels less unless you're really bold. You know, you've got to be really bold, sit in the wheels and not cover a move, with less riders in the mix, particularly with the quality of this race field. I mean, let's take a little look at the list. Who do we think is going to attack today? Well, Kulczynski could attack, Sidlick could attack. I would think Coinston could go, Fua could go, Bruni could go. Yep. All of these riders.
Tidholm put some great attacks in previously. Hermanson is an absolutely aggressive rider when it goes on to those anything short and sharp. We know she's likely to attack there. Did we cover most of the race field? Yeah, we probably did. Yeah. If we haven't, apologies. But I suspect, to be honest, It could be, it could be you, or you, or you, or you, or you. In fact, it could just be anybody. But the hot favourite surely must be Catherine Ver, particularly if she's taken time out to refocus. Now, our leading riders in Category 3 are just hitting the 10.2 kilometre marker, so just going into the Artist Alley Sprint. Who's going to go or kick on here? Are we going to see a little bit of a push? It looks like maybe Kekkonen has decided enough is enough.
Well, funny enough, Gina Di Grazia is stretching her legs
She's
today.
stretching them, but she's not being challenged now by Kekkonen. Interesting mix. Maybe they're looking, because remember that we've got Kekkonen, Montoya, and Hadlock and Piccolo. Maybe they're just looking to just take some of the sting out of Gina Di Grazia when they come into the finale by tempting her out into those sprints.
But also maybe Kekkonen was completing her warm-up by stretching her legs on the first sprint.
Quite possibly, yeah.
So many different scenarios could be at play here, but currently Fua, Sidlik, Engstrom, Larson, Bruni, Hermansen, Gonzalez, Ruhr, all in the mix here at the front of this Category 1 race field. They're 4.5 kilometres into this race, and this is a steady pace, actually. It's a steady start from these riders going through what is the first sprint of the day, the Valley of the Tomb sprint. No sprinting from this pack at all. Rolling through as one pack. Well, I think that tells me it is going to be a strong set of climbing up the Heritage Climb in a while.
Yes. You can see that the Category 1 group going through, they're led through by Merle Bruni in 8th position. Above her, Kath Tomkinson in Category 4, and then a raft of 6 Category 3 riders: Kekkonen, Grazia, now Masuri, Madeira, Barragan, and Sonnerson. Then it's Bruni and Larson, and the rest of the Category 1 race field all mixed in together. Now, one of the things here is, I was just thinking, would I have squeezed through there? Would I have wanted to go through and push on the sprints? Would I be wanting to identify myself at this point in time of the race as somebody who is feeling good enough to put those sprints in? I think that's a very risky modus operandi to identify yourself so early on in the race as being keen.
Well, can I tell you something? Talking about identifying yourself early on in the race, only 11 riders in Category 1 have started today. And, well, Kulczynski, she's identifying herself. And take a look at that. Fua is straight on that wheel. No way on this planet is Catherine Fua allowing Kristen Kulczynski to go. I tell you something, it's a minor bump on the road. If you take a look at the top right-hand corner of your screen, it gives you the detail of the course that the riders are on at the moment and the percentage gradient, whether it is up, down or flat. That was a small bump that Kulczynski took a push on. Fua, bang, straight on that wheel.
She did, but what I was really telling there, she went after her immediately. First responder, first person to respond, generally the person who's keenest. Second thing, though, she went straight over the top and continued over the top there. She was prepared to go away with Kulczynski, I think, there, and to make the rest of that group work in pursuit. Now, it's all come to nothing. The group has reformed in Category 1. We did see briefly on our screen Category 4. They are now making the way up on to the climb at 13.3 k's the start of the climb. And as you can see, they're already on these twists and turns, but they're on this section where, as Emma identified when we saw the course profile, it is very changeable in terms of course profile. This is not sit there at one pace. This is incredibly variable, and the more that you ride this, the more energy you will save by putting in repeated rides on here. And one of the reasons for that is because knowing where to push, knowing where the climb segment ends and where the individual rises in that climb segment are, that is really key, because you know how to pace it. You know whether you're going to be able to recover. Is this little descent that we're seeing here, minus 4.9, now 5.9, now 6.3. So we're dropping down. Is this somewhere where you recover? Is this somewhere where you want to push on? How does that feel in those different scenarios? The more you ride on the Sunday Race Club in a race scenario, the more you're going to know that, because you're going to be able to experiment with those. And great to see those riders really pushing. Tonkinson at the moment leading out. Jones right behind Bago, Vasquez, Simkin, Lloyd, Kennedy, all in the mix at the moment, all digging deep into the red zone. As into the bottom of the climb, Category 3 are on the way in, and we are in with Angel Hadlock, the rider potentially who should be expected to attack here.
Yeah, I think Hadlock will ride strongly, but I think she will have business, have company doing the business. Kekkonen, Hadlock, De Silva, Piccolo. Piccolo's really strong, you know. But there is Hadlock on the screen at the moment. Concentration on her face as she comes into the climb. Now let's talk a little about this climb. In early stages of this climb, the first half of the climb, continual changes. You can sort of see it on that top right-hand corner graphic. Continuing kicking, dropping, kicking, dropping, kicking, dropping. It's a multi-climb. Now the first climb kicks to 13%, but we do see kickers to 16%. In fact, kicker is the one you can see on that top right-hand corner just before it levels off. The Category 3 and Category 4 riders are now on the climb. The Category 1 race, well, they are 7.8 kilometres, and they are coming into the Alula Airport Sprint.
So here we go, into the sprint they come. This is going to be very, very telling. Are we going to see a roll through again? See an attack afterwards, because we are moving our way in towards a couple of little bumps that come after this sprint. You can just see them on the side of the profile. That's top right-hand side of your screen. We saw a counter-attack before. This time round, at the moment, nothing happening. So we saw an attack and counter-attack after the sprint. Nothing happening on the way through the sprint here. A mix again. Tompkinson leading that board. De Grazia taking the sprint in Category 3. In Category 2 was Rosa Herrera, who took top spot from Hannah Giannatti. Going to be very interesting to see how this plays out in the overall. Don't forget, of course, you can pick up all of the results on the MyWhoosh website. It is mywhoosh.com. Now, in the menu bar, you can pull down those, and from everything from the OTR racing to the Fast Fridays to Tune-Up Tuesdays,
the
right
team
away,
time
so
trials, and of course, coming up this week, more events.
There are indeed more events coming up, and maybe now is the time to dive into one of those, because we have coming up for all of our riders, whether you're Category 1 or Category 4, you can jump on board on the course for the World Championship courses in the same format. The test event is on the 26th of June.
Yes.
Which is Wednesday. It is at 1800 UTC, which is the 2 time zones available at the moment. Even there may be another one being added, we will see. Not sure on that one. There is how many riders so far, Emma?
Over 200 riders. I know that because I was rider 199 to sign up.
Oh, there we go. So Emma's going to be running. Can I ask which one you're in, Emma?
Oh, I am going to jump on in the morning.
Okay.
Well,
so
the morning UK time.
We will see if Emma's in there. Now, that is a race, a test event, so no prize money in that, but this is the prize money for our Sunday Race Club riders. Now, all of our categories get prizes for the top 5 individuals in the qualifying races, so that is qualifier 1 to 4, which we have this month. Each of those, 1st to 5th, from 2,000 AED down to 432 AED individually. Next week, the team class into play, and as you can see, that is a big old chunk of money that is going to be coming out to our riders. This is why the riders want to be in that top 5, whether in Category 4, Category 3, where the prize money increases 3,600 AED for 1st, right down to 720 AED for 5th. In our qualifying races in Category 3, it went up from Category 4 to Category 3. When we move up from 3 to Category 2, we have an increase in prize money as well, because we will be stepping up. So from the 3,600 AED for 1st place individually, we move up to 6,000 AED individually in Category 2. Next week, if you were in the winning team, 30,000 AED right the way through to 3,000 AED for 5th. So a big prize fund in category 4, in 3, in 2, and of course it steps up all the way. No surprises that it steps up for category 1 now. The biggest number on your screen is 50,000 AED. That is for the win in the team competition next week in our finals. 50,000, 30,000, 20,000, 10,000 and 5,000 AED 1st to 5th. In the individual competition, let's go the other way around. 5th is 2,000, 4th is 4,000, 3rd is 6,000, 2nd is 8,000 and 1st is a whopping 10,000 AED. To win today in the qualifying races in category 1. Get that right, qualified in there. Make sure it's verified. 10,000 AED. Now, we do regularly go out and around the world with Emma for Emma's Exchange to give you an indication of what 10,000 AED is somewhere else in the world. If you're not going to be able to go spend it down in the United Arab Emirates, you may want to spend it in
UK pounds.
sterling.
Yes.
UK pounds, GBP.
Yes, we've not done Emma's Exchange. Has not been to the pound for a while. So I'm going to do something a little bit different today. I'm going to give you an array of what it is like in terms of prize money.
Okay.
So if you win category 4, £460.
Okay.
If you win category 3, £775. If you win category 2, £1,290. If you win category 1, £2,150.
Wow.
That's all the individual competition. The winning team to category 1 next week will take away £10,750 prize money.
For the team.
For the team.
Wow.
Well, I'll tell you something.
Big money.
It is indeed. And Gonzalez, Rua, Engstrom and Fua will all be in squads next week waiting to win that prize money. Now that prizes in the team competition go down to the 5th team as well as in the individual competition. So the fight is on for the team competition next week as well as an individual competition. Today, just individual prize money, and this group of riders in this category 1 race, they are all looking for a top 5 slot.
Yeah, not many Benny. That is for sure. They really will want that, and that is why we see that top 5 being critical. And one of the reasons why, if you're in a group, you want to take it down to 5 pretty quickly. Get down to 5, you know you're in the prize money. You can then concentrate on going into top spot. Now, category 2 are on the slopes. They're at 14.5k. The summit of this climb is at 19.2k. Last week's winner, Dana Wagner, the rider who scored on a very similar course, out of the saddle, very focused there on what's happening on the screen, making sure she's hydrated. Lots of bottles there ready to get the fluids down. Don't want a dehydration drop. The fan rolling, keeping that airflow going as well. Really critical, and certainly working at the moment. You can see out the saddle on the climb, drops down as we go into this little bit of a descent. It's going to kick up again, and this compression and expansion is what does the damage, and why we are seeing riders being distanced off to the back.
And then coming back on as well, because look at that, the group has now bunched back up, and this is a class field of category 2 riders, you know. Davidson just dropped off the bat, but Yaramillo, Prado, Giannatti, Smithers, Svardstrom, Castano, all in here. And you can see there Anna Svardstrom on the screen at the moment. You can see she's out of the saddle. She's got the earphones in now. Whether she's chatting to teammates or listening to music, it's working for her at the moment because she is in the leading group of this category 2 race. In fact, she's just come to the front of that group. Castano, Montgomery, London, Wagner, Vittori, Prado, all keeping her company at the moment. It's a who's who of category 2.
It is great to see Anna there in the pain cave. I was just checking out the accreditations in the background behind as to whether they were festival accreditations because you mentioned music, or whether they were maybe UCI accreditations for world-class events, because we know she's a class rider, and the Swedish team are very strong. Now, we have all 4 categories underway at the moment. Category 1 are on the way into the climb and making their way underneath the arch. Emma just telling me what was on the screen there in sign language very badly. Emma might be very clever being a professor, but by Goodness gracious me, she cannot do sign language for toffee. If anybody wants to teach Emma sign language, please do let her know. It's at biking_Emma. At the same time, if anyone can teach me to count, that would also be very beneficial. You can get a hold of me at Matt Fix Pain. Right, on to the climb we go, making the way up on to the climb. The leaders in category 1 on the way up here, kicking really hard at the moment. As we come in, you can see those numbers starting to lift up. You're starting to see yellow and red chevrons as riders are kicking into that group. Remember that the chevrons are individually set levels, because the level that you are diving into is your own personal performance level. So some riders might be in the red zone whilst others aren't even diving into the chevrons, into those higher levels. It could well be that some of our riders are evenly matched, but that's the great thing about bike riding. It's always different.
Well, it is indeed always different, but what is not different is the fact that all of our 4 race categories are on the heritage climb. Catherine Fuhr, part and parcel of this pack of category 1 riders with Sidlick, Tidholm, Gonzalez, Ruhr, Larsen, Koinstinen, Hermansen, Kulczynski, all in the mix. Still a big group. They're on the first part of the climb at 14 kilometres. Now, the heritage climb does not finish till 19.2 kilometres. That's when they're going to see the next polka dot banner signifying the top of the climb. Well, Georgina Jones is leading the category 4 race at the moment. She is leading not just the category 4 race, but she's our leader on the road at the moment at 17.6 kilometres. But there is not a big gap. Rachel Kennedy, 4 seconds. Vasquez, 5. Simkin, 5. Tompkinson, 10. Bago, 15, just varying. So the 6 riders you can see in that shot are the riders all in contention at the front of this category 4 race. Now, 9% at the moment under the wheels. Jones's heart rate 173. She is working. On the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, though, the graphic really shows you what it looks like back down the mountain and where those riders are. Now, Angel Hadlock, she's leading the category 3 race. Well, she is 400 metres back down the mountain, but Piccolo, Kokona, Johnson, Beltran are all within 30 seconds.
I'll tell you something, Angel Hadlock, if she continues this form, she has been attacking so strongly. She's got Piccolo, who's been really strong as well with her. Another rider who I wouldn't say is the nemesis of Hadlock, but she's been really challenging. They've been working really well. And if you think that you've got Hadlock, Kokona, and Piccolo,
all the teammates,
all at the front, they are all 3 teammates. There we go, team race. Now, just going back to Angel Hadlock and Nolan Kokona here, they are 2 riders who could figure in one of the events that's coming up on MyWhoosh between the 8th and the 12th of July. We have the UAE Summer Championships. Now, this is a 5-day event over 5 days. The men's championship, the women's championships for categories 1 and 2, and we have the community challenge as well. General classification competition, the sprint competition, and King of the Mountains or Queen of the Mountains. And I'll tell you something, Hadlock has got to be up there in the community challenge issues, in that challenge race in the UAE Summer Championships. Now, you do have to be a citizen or a resident of the UAE to be in the UAE Championships, oddly enough. So do get signed up. You can do that on the events page of the MyWhoosh website. It's looking like it's going to be an amazing event. I can't wait for that. Do make sure that you get signed up if you live in or you're a citizen of the UAE.
So much going on.
There is so much going on. We've got that. We've got the World Championships test event on the 26th of June. The 8th of July to the 12th of July is the UAE Summer Championships.
There's a new team time trial season opening soon as well.
That means that Emma's going to be testing her legs out, no doubt, with her women's team, the Ionian team there. We're going to see how they get on there. As we see Category 1 just making the way up alongside Musa Al-Mansouri. The leaders now kicking on past. That's Fuhr and Bruni with Kulczynski in the mix. The top 3 climbers, I would say, on the Sunday Race Club at the moment in the women's race field.
I'd agree.
Leading this out. But behind, you cannot discount Sidlick, Bjarhead, Larsen, Tidholm, Koistinen, Royce, I wouldn't discount Hermansen and Engstrom from any of the top 5, because it just depends on how you pace this climb. It's so difficult because the gradient changes so much. We're on a descent of over 10% descent at the moment. It's going to very quickly change to ascent. At the moment, Rebecca Johnson in category 3, the rider who is chasing our 3 leaders just behind. You can see them in front of her. They are making their way up the climb. You can see that they are starting to close the gaps down. Johnson just taking a drink there on the bottom of your screen, chasing Kekkonen, chasing Hadlock. Nice to see that all 3 of our riders, they're pulling faces at the cameras. I'm not so well. Pulling faces because it's an effort here. The coolest of the lot looks like it's Angel Hadlock, but
she's got secret tells, you know.
I tell you what, I would not want to play poker against Angel Hadlock, because she is very good at hiding when she's working really, really strongly and working hard. It's really tough to tell, and you can see now the pressure is on all these riders. Who's it going to be? Brilliant to see them out and riding and on your screens.
I'll tell you, look at that. Johnson has caught Kekkonen, so Johnson has closed the gap to Kekkonen. Piccolo and Hadlock are the 2 riders just up the road, and you can see that now on the top right hand corner of the category 3 screen. You can see the top of the Heritage climb. That is where they're going, but it's 12% at the moment. Johnson, such a strong climber. Well, Jones is a strong climber as well, but take a look at the category 4 race. There's still a significant number of riders in contention. So Jones, Vasquez, Simkin, 3 seconds separating the top 3. Tomkinson there 17 seconds back. Bago 25 seconds back. I don't think any of those 6 riders are out of this at the moment.
And we've got a long way to go. Remember, the riders at the moment on the lead on the race route is 18.6k. The summit is at 19.2 kilometres.
And from the top of the Heritage climb is a 15.8 kilometre run into the checkered flag. The top of this climb, whilst it is crucial in terms of winning the race, it is not the finish of the race.
It's not, is it? And we have to remember that the descent of the Heritage climb, it takes almost what is going to be about 6k to get to the very base of the climb before we start running into things like the Hegra Sprint, the Green City Sprint, so the final 10k. But that final 10k are not flat, because the last 3k are in the Alfaqua Hills, that roller coaster ride that takes us into the finish. Who's going to get onto that first? Will it be our Category 4 leaders currently headed by Jones? Will it be our Category 3 leaders headed by Hadlock at the moment? Piccolo is in contention. She's there. But they are the 2 riders at the moment who are most likely to close down the gap to the leader in Category 4, who's just on another of these dips before we rise up again. But she knows now once she hits this gradient, it's not going to be long until she goes over the summit. She'll be searching for the polka dot banner. It's around a slight right and then into the tight left-hand turn.
Yeah, Georgina Jones has 200 metres left on this climb. She's going to see that polka dot banner very, very shortly, but this is 10% at the moment. It's the final part of the Heritage climb, and it's not easy, but there it is. That is the motivation Jones requires. That is the polka dot banner. She's got 5 seconds on the chasing 3 riders in Category 4. Now, the question is, Matt, will those 3 riders work together on the descent to bring Jones back? And what can Tomkinson and Bago do to close that gap too?
Well, I think it's going to be a little dependent on what Jones does. If I was Jones, I'd be looking to take away the points here. But Kennedy is closing down that gap very quickly here. And remember, there is the polka dot points at stake here for being the climb leader. It's not all over, because there are points available also on the Alfaqua Hills, so it won't be decided till they get into the finish. Who's going to take away the first of our polka dot jerseys? Who is going to be the leader in the climb category? It's going to be as much about where they were when they entered the climb in position as where they are as they come through over the top. And it's Kennedy who takes it by 0.421 of a second.
Did you just do that maths on the spur of the moment?
Yeah.
I'm impressed. Well, Kennedy.
It's only because it was really easy.
Kennedy goes up and over the top. Vasquez and Jones are with her. Simkin is there too. Tompkinson is not far back. Neither is Bagger. That could well be a group of 6 in Category 4. This is Category 3. And Hadlock and Piccolo, the teammates are side by side. Rebecca Johnson is on the move behind. There you go. You can see Johnson. Bogrin, the Category 4 rider, is the rider in between. Johnson, Hadlock and Piccolo. Could be a group of 3, but Kekkonen and Beltran, Matt, are not that far behind.
I think no, they're not. But the issue they're going to have is that once you go over the top here, this speed picks up, the gap will open, and I think realistically, Johnson is potentially the only one who can get back to Hadlock and Piccolo. It's very difficult, I think, for Kekkonen and Beltran to do that, but it is possible. Lorena Beltran has been riding,
she's a strong
She's
been
riding
rider.
so well. The last few weeks of qualifying, she's always been in that mix. Is today the day she's going to be rewarded? We will see. They're just alongside Nikki Lloyd in Category 4, the Petite 4 squad rider, who's on her way up over the top as well. But it's Hadlock who goes through underneath the Heritage Climb banner first. She will be taking away the polka dot jersey for the leader in the climbs competition. So it's Hadlock from Piccolo as they go over the top. Then it's going to be Johnson, and let's see if this gap comes back. Are we going to see a group of 5 riders together? Are we going to see a group of 4? Will it just be the 2, Hadlock and Piccolo?
Well, Beltran finished 5th last week. She also finished 5th in the final in May. So a rider on good form at the moment. So we could well be seeing Lorena Beltran moving up, because the climbs at the end of this course also instrumental in the 1, 2, 3. Well, 1, 2, 3 at the moment in Category 1. Catherine Fuhr and Merle Bruni side by side. Teammates again for the Sweat Sensations. Kolczynski now 13 seconds back. They're at 18 kilometres, so 1.2k from the top of the Heritage Climb in Category 1. In Category 2, they're 700 metres further up the climb, and it's Vittori and Cassani with Giannatti. These 3 riders, but they are not... tell you something, the chase is on behind, because London is there, Wagner is there. They're only 5 or 6 seconds back. We could see, I think, quite a big group coming together in Category 2.
Well, let's see. They're coming into this long right-hand turn. It straightens, then it's the left. They've got to get themselves up over the top. They'll see whether they get that gap, whether they push on to try and make the riders behind have to work, or whether they just have a little bit of a roll through so that they can recover. Now, when we go over the top here, Emma, you are regularly mentioning the word momentum about the downhill. Am I correct in thinking that the absolute key thing here is to hit the steep descent sections as fast as possible so that you carry that momentum for as long as possible?
Well, there's a number of different ways of riding the downhill. You can take rest. You can have micro rests but continue to push on. Or you can ride the downhill as hard as you ride the uphill, but that is really difficult because obviously you've just come up that long climb. However, we do regularly see riders attack on the downhill because it lifts their speed, and it's not just about watts per kilo, it's also about speed. So the kilometers per hour on the bottom left of your screen, if you push on the downhill and get the momentum rolling and the speed up really quickly, as you transition over the top of the climb, you are in benefit of the rider who gets to the top and goes, oh, goodness me, that was hard.
And it's the same if you're riding outdoors. I was lucky enough to go out riding with a colleague out in France for about, we were out for 3 hours, I think. What was very telling was when the legs started getting tired towards the end of the ride, that was supposedly going to be an easy ride and obviously wasn't, that when you went over the top of the climb, that if the rider in front really kept pushing and the rider behind didn't, that gap opened up incredibly quickly. So if you've got the strength to go over the top, whether you are outdoors or indoors, going over the top and pushing into that descent, picking up the speed on the downhill instantly will open a big gap. And if anybody hesitates, I think that's the problem. And that's why this is really tough, because we don't just have this at the summit of this climb, we have it all the way up with all of those roller coasters. And on the way down, there are still uphill sections on the way down the descent. So you still have to kick over those on your way down into towards the last sections of this route. Now, coming up to the top of the climb, it is Fua and Bruni together. Fua kicking on here, 6 watts per kilo, 7 watts per kilo, just coming out from Bruni, just looking to close the gap back down again. The two riders continue to push. They may be teammates, but they will want to take away top spot here. They also know they're opening the gap on Kolczynski. 25 seconds at the moment. Let's see what it is when we get to the bottom of the descent. Let's see what it is when Kolczynski comes over the top of the climb. Look at the gap behind. No sign at the moment of Kristen Kolczynski. She's got to get the gap back down here. So, and watch it update. Bruni, Fua come through. Fastest time was Kasani with a 17:55. It's now a 15:27. 15 minutes 27 seconds of climbing on the climb. That is incredibly quick. Ascent of the Heritage Climb. A quick reminder, 5.9k. Average gradient is 5.7%. And now we wait to see Kolczynski's time.
34 seconds.
34 seconds. Okay, folks, stick that in your head. 34 seconds the gap. Let's see whether Kolczynski can pull that 34 seconds deficit down or whether it will increase on the downhill. The advantage, though, is with the two riders, because there are two riders working together. Well, maybe working together, but definitely benefiting from the draft from one another.
Well, they are indeed teammates. So Bruni and Fua, part and parcel of the Sweat Sensation team. And they took the win from the peak performers, you know, Matt, in the May final by 1 minute 35 seconds. Now, for anybody new to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club, the team competition at the end of the month is decided on time. So teams can have up between 3 and 5 riders, but it is the first 3 riders over the line whose times, finish times, are added together to give the team competition.
Okay. So that's the cumulative time of the 3 riders.
That's the word.
Added together basically gives you that total time for the team, and the fastest team in that category takes away top spot. And you said that was 2,200 sterling for the individual, I think it was it?
Yeah, so £10,750 for the win in the Category 1 team competition at the end of the month. Now, the Sweat Sensation, should I say, took it from the peak performers by 1 minute 35 seconds in Category 1 in the May final on the Jebel Hafid. The Sweat Sensations finished in 2nd, 3rd and 4th place. The peak performers finished in 1st, 5th and 6th place. But it was indeed those cumulative times that came together to give the win to the Sweat Sensations by 1 minute 35 seconds. But bearing in mind that 6 riders, the gap between 6 riders, just 1 minute 35.
And we've seen it very, very close indeed, haven't we? We do see it does depend on the course. When it finishes on top of a mountain, generally see those gaps to be bigger. If it was to finish on use a course like this, then we would often see that to be a lot closer.
Yeah, so let me give you an example. Back on the April final, the women were in Belgium. Okay, in Category 4, Just Keep Pedaling took the win from the pedal dancers by 1.39 seconds.
So
1 second, 0.39.
Less than a second and a half separating
those 6 riders.
Wow. Brilliant to see just how close it can be. Thank you very much for that illustration, Emma. As we go to our riders now, you'll notice the time gaps are yo-yoing up and down. This is because the time gaps are live. These are not based on a fixed point on the course. They are quite literally done by calculating the distance on the course and the speed of the riders that are traveling at that time. That calculation gives you the time gap between the riders. But, of course, we see the times and the speeds varying because we have riders doing very different speeds. If you're on the descent, speeds of 50, 60, 70, 80 kilometers an hour are not unknown. If you are climbing up one of the steep sections on that descent, that's just one of those kickers, you may be going up at 10, 15, 20 kilometers an hour. That is why you see these massive variations. It will start to become clearer as we hit the flat, which is where our Category 4 leaders are, and it is where our Category 3 leader has arrived as well. Hadlock at the moment in pursuit of the top 6 riders in Category 4. Of those riders, 4 riders are together. That is Jones, Kennedy, Vasquez and Simkin. Then it's Bago and Tomkinson, the 2 riders together, chasing in 5th and 6th. Then the next rider on the road is the rider on the left-hand side of your screen. That is Angel Hadlock, who has Stefani Piccolo in attendance pretty much. It may well be, in fact, that Hadlock will let Piccolo go on there, because with 2 of them, they've got a better chance of keeping Johnson at base. He's only 9 seconds behind.
Yeah, well, it's been a great descent for Category 3 riders, for Johnson to hold Hadlock and Piccolo to those time gaps. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens now, because there is indeed the likelihood that we see Category 2 and Category 1 leading groups start to pull back. The chasers in Category 4 and Category 3, and large groups form on the road.
I wouldn't disagree with that analysis at all. I think as this time goes by, as you sweep up riders, you have that draft advantage, right? Groups will get bigger. Now, will Hadlock and Piccolo sweep up the chasers, Bago and Tomkinson, who are chasing Jones, Simkins, Vasquez and Kennedy, the riders who are in the lead of this race at the moment? Are we going to see that? Just making our way over the lakes, the lilies underneath, one of those with the upturned lily pads. Making our way in here in Alula on the Heritage Climb course. Our Category 4 leaders still at the front of the race overall. 28.3 kilometers covered. Our Category 1 leaders, well, they are at 25.1, soon to be 25.2 kilometers. That is Bruni and Fua, who are on the way down. Bruni at the moment just in front with the dark helmet on. The white helmet, that is Catherine Fua. And they're the 2 riders making the way down the descent. They've got the final step down to do. You can just see that top right hand side of the left hand screen. So top right hand side to the left hand screen. That's where that course profile is. It's the white line with the yellow vertical bar, and it shows that there's a little bit of a rise, which is where Bruni and Fua are at the moment, and then it will drop down and they will hit the flatlands as well. The gap, remember, it was 34 seconds. What's it going to be? We'll take a little bit of a look at the moment. We've got all 4 riders, all 4 race category leads on your screen at the moment. Category 1 leaders, top left-hand side of your screen. That is Fua and Bruni. Top right-hand side, you can see that we've got Vittorio Cassani Giannatti at the moment leading in Category 2. Bottom left-hand side of your screen, Hadlock just ahead of Piccolo by 3 seconds in Category 3. And on the right-hand side of your screen at the very bottom, this is the leading group of 4 in Category 4. Vasquez, Kennedy, Jones and Simkin.
Well, I'll tell you something, Matt. There's 3 kilometers separating the leaders in Category 1 from the leaders in Category 4. And with just under 6k to go, I think we're going to see the category that started earlier finishing before our Category 1 riders today.
There we go. First prediction of the day has been made. And it's from Emma. Well done, Emma. Thank you very much. I'm sitting on the fence and getting splinters at the moment.
I think I'm bolder than you, obviously.
Maybe only in predictions. Definitely not on descending. Okay, on to the turns that take our Category 4. They're just in that 90-degree right-hand turn around that corner. They are just ahead of Category 3, leading duo. And this is Piccolo and Hadlock, still 3 seconds between. Yeah. I'll tell you what, Hadlock is not making this easy for a teammate.
Well, I'm looking for Rebecca Johnson at the moment, because Hadlock and Piccolo, Kukkonen and Beltran, no Johnson.
Yet.
Well, she was in between those 4 riders at the start.
Has the commentator's curse struck? And the tech has not worked. We will find out, and we'll keep you updated.
Bearing in mind, viewers, she is in the middle of a Norwegian forest.
And it could well also be that we've got the chasers behind. The Kokkonen and Beltran had closed down on Johnson on the descent, and she's just off the bottom of our screens. We will let you know as soon as we know. We'll let you know. It's an old phrase, but it's a good phrase. Now, as they came through the Hegra sprint, Johnson was definitely still in the race, 6th place in there. De Grazia taking the top spot, then Marin. But those times are not swept away by Fua and Bruni, interestingly, who have every reason to keep kicking on. So Fua and Bruni are continuing to move through, but not sprinting the way through there. Marin and De Grazia, though, with a fractionally faster time, and it is fractions of a second. It's 0.04, so that is basically 0.04 of a second behind go the category 1, so next to nothing in there. That's pretty much the difference between having a 25mm tyre on your bike outdoors and a 28mm tyre on your bike outdoors.
Well, there we go. We are not outdoors today. We are indoors, and we are on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. This is e-cycling, virtual cycling, whichever terminology you would like to use. But it's not indoor cycling, because that is artistic cycling and cycleball, never to be confused.
Do you ever get confused? Because you are now the co-host of the Virtual Velo podcast, and you talk about e-cycling, basically, e-sport cycling, virtual cycling.
Never use the term indoor cycling, because they are 2 different UCI disciplines.
And of course, MyWhoosh is the UCI partner for 2024, 2025 and 2026. And as part of that, there are new courses coming. There are new Worlds courses coming. They're also, of course, the sponsor partner for the Road Championships as well. Now, those courses will be added to the routes. There's currently 65 routes on MyWhoosh, covering the 2 new worlds. It's California and Hydriat, which are 7 routes apiece. Added to Arabia, to Colombia, Australia, the Endurance Time, Belgium, and Alula, where we are now. It's actually 8 official routes. So 65 total official routes at the moment. New routes come in, of course, for those world courses. Make sure you jump on, if you can, on the 26th of June. That is this coming Wednesday, on the test event. Get signed up. So it's 10 o'clock and 6 o'clock in the evening, 10 in the morning, 6 in the evening, UTC. Have a look, see if that time zone fits. Please do jump on board. We'd love to see you on there. Emma will be riding. I definitely won't be riding.
Well, I'll tell you, someone
I'll be watching,
pushing on and riding at the moment. Catherine Fua and Merle Bruni are at the head of the Category 1 race. Vittori et al. Are at the head of Category 2. Angel Hadlock with Piccolo, they are the 2 riders towards the 4 of Category 3. But Georgina Jones and Melissa Simkin have Rachel Kennedy and Manuela Vasquez for company. 4 riders at the head of Category 4. They are the leaders on the road at the moment, and they're coming up for 32 kilometres of this race. They have just hit the Alfaqua Hills. This is going to be rolling all the way to the finish.
So here we go. You can see the banner coming up underneath over the top, as underneath the wheels of Angel Hadlock goes that line that enters the start of the Alfaqua Hills. She has Piccolo still behind there. They're both having to work equally here, because there's not going to be any draft behind, no advantage to sitting behind. And you'll see that if we drop back with Piccolo, because it won't be a green number there unless you close that gap down substantially. The watts that are shown at the top here are in white for Piccolo, and that means that she's not in the draft. It's white for the wind. Okay,
I can confirm we were talking about Rebecca Johnson earlier on and where she was. She is indeed with Kokkonen and Beltran. So Hadlock and Piccolo are 25 seconds clear of 3 riders, Johnson, Kokkonen and Beltran, who are the chasing 3.
And if you look on your screen, left-hand side, you can see in the centre of the radar view 2 dots. That's that is Piccolo and Hadlock. You can just about make out some blue dots coming up behind them. Those are the chasers. We're in with them now. The leaders in this category are just going over the crest of the hill in front of them. This is about closing down the gap. Johnson, Kekkonen and Belcher need to do it, and they need to do it fast. We are at 31.7k. A quick now 8k. A quick reminder, the finish line of the Alphagar Hills is 500 meters before the finish line of the race. So the finish line for the hill segment is at 34.5k. The race finish is at 35k. It's coming, and it's coming quick in categories 4, 3, 2 and 1.
Well, it is indeed. Category 1 at 30.4 kilometres. Category 4 at 32.6. The gap is coming down. Jones pushing on. She's now gone clear in category 4. Hadlock gone clear in category 3. Kasani and Vittori, there they are. They are nearly enough side by side as they head into the final hill section together in category 2. Well, category 2 riders now heading into the final hills. That means it's just category 1 who are still on the run in. Well, they've not got far to run in. If we take a look at the map in Alula here on this new heritage climb route, you can see the riders have gone up and over the heritage climb. They've come down the other side, transitioned through the flatlands, through the Hague Sprint, through the Green City Sprint, into the Alphaquar Hills. And you can see the rolling nature. They kick at around 7%. So up, down, and really holding that momentum and ensuring that kick after what must be quite tired legs from the heritage climb and the rest of the race field.
And the most critical of those kicks is the one before the finish line, because as you go over that, it then drops and then rises into the finish. So the momentum you carry over the penultimate rise on this course is absolutely critical for the speed that you carry into the finish. It's going to be very, very interesting to see how this plays out. Our riders on the way into that finish at 35k. Hadlock closing down on the leader. She's not going to see them, I don't think, in the road overall, but she is the leader in category 3.
Well, let me just give you a little bit of an update from the Green City Sprint. I can confirm that Fur and Bruni went through the sprint in the lead of the category 1 race, but they are not the fastest riders through that section in the category 1. Tidholm, Kuczynski, Koinsten and Sidlick and Hermansen, who are all chasing, went through the Green City Sprint significantly quicker than Fur and Bruni.
So Fur and Bruni maybe just taking a little bit of a rest here. They know what gap they've got. They'll be looking to make sure that they have energy left for that sprint. They may well be teammates, but they will want to take away top spot in the individual competition as well as getting their teammates in. So the riders on the road at the moment in front of Angel Hadlock. Right at the front is Jones, then Kennedy, then Vasquez and Bago. Bago, the rider nearest to Hadlock, who is coming like an absolute express train at the moment in this category. In category 3, in category 4, I'm looking at those time gaps, and I'll tell you something, I think Jones has opened up a monumental gap on this section as she's come into the roller coasters here and has absolutely blasted away in category 4. She's done what Hadlock has done, but she's opened an even bigger gap.
Yeah, and you can see that on that bottom left-hand corner of the screen. You can see those red dots in front of Hadlock, who's that first blue dot, and you can see that Jones is absolutely motoring. There it is. That is the polka dot banner signifying the end of the Alphaquar Hills section. She still does indeed have to drop down and then climb again to the finish line, but the finish line now only 500 meters away.
And the pace she carries here as she goes over this penultimate climb is absolutely critical. The same here for Hadlock. This is about pace. This is about power. You've got to kick over this to run in to the finish here. So Hadlock at the moment in category 3 out of the saddle. She should take the time for the fastest time through the Farquhar Hills here. Has she done so? Yes, she will have done, because she's flying. You can see those polka dots banners, jerseys being awarded. That's on the left-hand side of your screen. Hadlock, right-hand side. This is Jones. She's looking for the UCI banner. It is in front of her here. This is the run for the line. Jones at the moment has 12 seconds to the riders behind. And Georgina Jones, tell you something, if ever there was a rider who should live on this course, it's Jones, because she is going to make it hers. Georgina Jones does it again here on Alula on the Heritage Climb. Your race win on the Sunday Race Club in Category 4.
Oh, Georgina Jones takes the win and she takes the thanks confetti, but it's racing.
Simpkins in Category 3. Angel Hadlock takes the win. Solo again, an incredibly rich vein of form. Hadlock taking the gold jersey, the yellow jersey of the winner overall. She's going to come in ahead of Stefani Piccolo in Category 3. So Hadlock in Category 3 taking first place, Piccolo taking second. Behind there's a real battle for third. Not all that far behind her, we also have the leaders in Category 2. Cassani from Vittori, from Giannatti, from London and Wagner. That is the order on the road at the moment in the green of Category 2. In Category 1, Fua and Bruni basically still together.
They are indeed side by side in Category 1, but Cassani is pushing on here. She's 9 seconds clear at the moment with 500 metres to go from Vittori. Giannatti 15 further. So Asulia Cassani can now see the UCI banner. She looks up and round the corner. She is on the way to the win unless Vittori can do anything about this.
And it's all about that momentum. It's about carrying it over. Cassani kicked over the top. Vittori also did. Who's got the on this? Surely it is going to be Ursula Cassani's. So Ursula Cassani out of the saddle here, sprinting. Vittori's trying to come at her, but she's not going to make it in our Category 2 race. A qualifier for June. It is Ursula Cassani who takes away the win here. She's going to be ahead of Vittori, who comes over the line there with Nikki Lloyd from Category 4. Behind them in that Category 2, looks like it's going to be Giannatti ahead of London. That's on the right-hand side of the screen. Hannah Giannatti just coming into the line. But in Category 1, this is a run for the line. Fua has gapped Bruni. Bruni is behind. Has Bruni got a kick? I don't think she's got enough of a kick because Fua's kicked first. She's kicked hard. She's looking to pull this into the finish. That quick flick back showed that the gap had opened. It is going to be a win. Welcome back, Catherine Fua. Welcome back to Winning Ways. Top spot on the podium in Category 1 in Qualifier 4 for Catherine Fua.
Well, Catherine Fua comes through in 1. Merle Bruni comes through in 2. In Category 1, Cassani took the win in Category 2 from Vittori, from Giannatti, London and Wagner coming through in 4th and 5th. In Category 3, it was Hadlock from Piccolo, from Johnson, from Kekkonen, from Beltran, and in Category 4, Jones from Simpkins, from Bago, from Kennedy, from Vasquez.
And a phenomenally fast time, 57 minutes, 26 seconds for Catherine Fua on the course. I'm not sure if that is not, that surely is a course record, is it, Emma?
You talk for 2 seconds and I'll double check.
1 and 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. Oh, yeah, better do longer than that. Okay, so Catherine Fua taking the win from Merle Bruni. Fantastic results. You can see them up on your screen. This is what you see when you jump on to the MyWhoosh.com website. Kolchinsky coming through in there, taking away 3rd place here today in Category 3. That gap was unsurmountable that had been opened on the mountain.
I can tell you that the fastest time ever set on this new Heritage Climb in the women's race field was 56 minutes 14 seconds.
So not a course record today. Must try harder. I tell you what, they took the win. I don't care whether you get the course record or not. Congratulations to all of our riders who finished so far. If you're out there riding, keep on pushing. It's 35k and it's all going to be doing you good. It's going to get you faster, it's going to get you fitter, and hopefully you're going to enjoy it as well. We've absolutely loved bringing you the action here in the new Heritage Climb course in Alula in the women's race. We are going to be back very shortly for the very first Sunday Race Club on the New California World in the men's race. Please do join us for that. Hit subscribe, hit like, hit follow across social media, not just for Emma and myself, that's biking_Emma and Matt Fix page, but please make sure that you go and jump on and follow MyWhoosh on social media. That is on Instagram or Facebook. Make sure you subscribe and follow on the YouTube channel for updates on all sorts of bits, including the platform, the racing, the game. Please do say hello. We'd love to hear from you. We hope you're going to be back for not just the men's race, but also for our finals next week, which are looking exciting. But from Emma, from myself, from the amazing team behind the scenes who make all of this happen, it's time for us to stay safe. We'll see you again soon. Goodbye.